it's not just software. It's because when we design systems for an enterprise, there is so much goes behind the scenes that's not just the code. Right? You look at scalability. You need to make sure that a system which works for 2 users will work for 100 users. That the same system will work for a million users. So the scalability aspect of software is going to be very, very crucial. The second part is trust, right? How do we establish trust? How do you make sure that there is a very strong focus in terms of explainability, auditability of different components which are being used? And the third part is governance, right? How do you make sure that the data access rights are correct? How do you make sure that each role has the right or authority to look at specific data points? And the last point is integration, because see, in a world where everything is so complex, it's not true that one software will orchestrate everything. You will have a bouquet of software which are talking to each other, having the right level of communication. And so integration plays a very, very huge role. So if that integration, establishing that integration, having a same syntax in terms of the communication is going to be very crucial. And these are things that often people do not talk about, and but these are very, very relevant in the context of enterprise, right?
Hello and welcome to Tech Titans, the series from ETGCC World, where we speak to GCC leaders shaping the future of enterprise technology, AI, and innovation. Our guest today is Mohammed Anzy, Managing Director India at Guidewire Software, a company helping insurers across the world modernize everything from core systems and cloud infrastructure. Anzy, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
You guys just hosted Dev Summit.
Yeah, I think Dev Summit for us is I would say, the largest learning platform for insurtech developers in India. And this is the third edition. We started in 2024 with 500 developers. In 2025, this grew to almost 1,500. And this year, we are close to 3,000, 3,200
Wow.
developers.
So we are also living through a very exciting time, right? Where enterprise itself is rethinking itself completely because of AI. From your perspective, what's the biggest technology shift underway right now?
That's an interesting question. Um, there are two larger shifts which I am seeing. One from the tools and enterprise software perspective. The second from a customer or an experience or end user perspective. Right. If I really look at from a tools perspective, I think all throughout, I think you would have seen, right, the systems or the software used to ask humans what needs to be done next. They used to wait for instructions and they used to execute. With AI, I think it has significantly changed. There is a significant amount of reasoning happening around it. There is a significant amount of generation happening around it. There is I would say, very significant amount of automation also happening. So the software is getting intelligent, and in some cases, the systems can also take decisions, right? They don't wait for humans to give that instruction to do A or B, right? So that's a very significant change. I think there are places where this decision can be made. There are places where this decision cannot be made, right? For example, there is a campaign on insurance, and proposing that campaign to an end user based on a hyper personalized approach would be fine. But when there is a claim happening, right, then that decision cannot be fully autonomous, right? There should be a human in the loop. While the system can propose whether approving the claim or rejecting the claim based on certain intelligence, but then ultimately there are decisions that the human has to take. But the way I was referring to it is primarily in industry we call it agentic AI with so many agents specifically for the context that it operates. But then these agents are getting powerful, right? I mean, every organization designing and delivering multiple of frameworks to build the agent, and that's going to have a very significant impact the way software is consumed by organizations. The second aspect is from an end user perspective. I being a developer or I being someone who uses a tool or a software, we always had this conversation in terms of what is the best UX. I always believed that voice would be the best user experience because It's natural. You can just give the command, the system can understand. So the natural language processing has improved significantly over the last several years. And with a with a command, you can actually create software. You can write code. You can do a lot of stuff at this point of time. So these are two significant technology shifts that I am seeing, especially in the world of AI.
What excites you most about this moment in technology, and what do you think is also being overhyped?
I think I always feel that we are blessed to live in a time where the human history will be rewritten, right? Because at this point of time, the way I see the whole process of software creation is that every single individual is a builder. Even if you know a specific language or not, I mean, you can build a software, I can build a software. So the way we access innovation, uh, the barriers are completely gone away, right? I think if I think I have a great idea, immediately I can try it out. Rather than just creating a wireframe or PowerPoints, I can directly go to a large language model, create a proof of concept, make it run, get it validated with my friends and colleagues, and that the process of creation of software. I mean, I would not say software. The process of creation of an outcome has gotten much simpler at this point of time, which is really exciting for all of us. Right? I think that's something which is super exciting for me. The thing I think it's slightly overhyped. I would say it's not just the software, right? I mean, it's not just a piece of code, or it's not just the AI that will redefine everything, right? It is there is a very strong element of context need to be tied up uh, with a large language model or any other. So I think that's where we come in, and that's where that incremental innovation or disruptive innovation comes. When we have an idea, we have the context, and then we bring context, data, platform all together, then the magic happens. I think that part is slightly, I would say the AI will redefine everything in the world. I would say systematically correct, but then that redefinition will happen only if you get everything right, not just with the tool alone, right? You need the domain, you need the context, you need the right people to, yeah, design the systems. I think that's when it would happen. So it's not just about the technology, it's also the people who come together to make that technology work. It's going to be very crucial.
You work closely with large enterprises, right? And they operate at enormous scale, especially some of them relatively work at. What's something people consistently underestimate about such enterprise complexity?
I started in the last conversation, right? It's not just software. It's because when we design systems for an enterprise, there is so much goes behind the scenes that's not just the code, right? You look at scalability. You need to make sure that a system which works for two users will work for 100 users. That the same system will work for a million users. So the scalability aspect of software is going to be very crucial. The second part is trust, right? How do we establish trust? How do you make sure that there is a very strong focus in terms of explainability, auditability of different components which are being used? And the third part is governance, right? How do you make sure that the data access rights are correct? How do you make sure that each role has the right authority to look at specific data points? And the last point is integration, because see, in a world where everything is so complex, uh, it's not true that one software will orchestrate everything. You will have a bouquet of software which are talking to each other, having the right level of communication, and so integration plays a very huge role. So if that integration, establishing that integration, having a same syntax in terms of the communication is going to be very crucial. And these are things that often people do not talk about, and but these are very relevant in the context of enterprise, right? I think this is something that I feel people should really look at it. So it's not just building a POC and rolling it out to the customer. That cannot be done. You need to get it validated. You need to make sure that all the integrations are rightly captured. You need to make sure that all the governance is established, excellent auditing, and also locking capabilities are being done. So everything stitches together will become an enterprise grade software. So the software creation will be probably the 20% of the work, but the 80% of the work is making sure that everything around that software is rightly taken care of. Right? So I think that 80% of the complexity, I think people often underestimate, I would say.
Let's bring the context to GCC, right? How has the GCC landscape changed? Has the Guidewire India office also changed in terms of dynamics?
Yeah, I think the reason why Guidewire came to India was through acquiring an organization startup based out of Chennai, and then we understood the value of talent in India and what that talent pool can unleash. And we started with little bit of data practice. Then we built a cloud platform, and that's how we grew. So the real conversation was primarily around what's the kind of outcomes that we can create uh, from India, and which was a very significant shift in terms of, okay, I will hire 100 people, then I'll get some work here. The conversation was always like, okay, I have a feature to be delivered. Can I get this delivered by the set of engineers here? And then slowly, once we started delivering these features and products out of India, uh, then that built a very strong trust. And then we kept growing and scaling our organization in India. So for us, I think we are very, very clear in terms of the focus. We are not really looking at growing in very significantly in numbers, but growing in ownership, portfolio, and the kind of topics that we are driving. So from that perspective, I think, yeah, it was primarily based on innovation outcomes that we could bring out from the Bangalore location. I think that was the clear differentiator for us.
In terms of the overall landscape, also, how much of the discussion is still about cost arbitrage?
No, absolutely. There is absolutely no discussion at this point of time on cost. Especially that probably that's because we are a product company. For us, we are just similar to any other development location for Guideware across the globe. The benefits are the same. The things that we extend to everyone is almost the same. So absolutely not about the cost. It's always about uh, the the talent. It's always about the impact that we can create from building out of here. It's also very interesting to note that, especially in Bangalore, right? If you really look at any skill that you want to get, you can find it in the market. Whether it's a SRE or the product manager, or you need FTEs, which is forward deployment engineers, or people who are data scientists. You can immediately get that from the market, and that's a huge opportunity for us. Then the second biggest opportunity is the academia in India, right? I mean, we
You
have
guys also have a very good
very,
collaboration
yes,
here.
we do have a very good collaboration with academia last year. We started a partnership with five different universities. The idea was very, very simple, Dave. I think we really wanted, always people have this inhibition about insurance, right? Oh, it's a highly regulated industry. So the room for innovation is very limited. We just wanted to deconstruct those myths which are flying around, and we partnered with five different universities. We created a customized curriculum for these universities, and these universities are teaching this to their students. So the idea was that there is very significant amount of technology innovations happening in the world of insurance, because insurance is based on data, right? And that's something that we are super proud of. Again, in short, the talent, academia, and the industry is a huge opportunity that we have to feed into each other and build.
You are an insurance industry insider now, right? I can call you
Mm.
that. What's changing? Tell us a little bit about that insider information. What's really changing in terms of technology inside the insurance industry, and what can we expect, perhaps as a consumer also in the next few years?
Yeah, I think you know, insurance is a highly regulated industry. While technology is a great enabler, it takes some time for organizations to embrace technology. It's a structural issue. It's not that organizations are not really looking forward to technology, but because it's a very complex industry, it needs multiple validations before they roll out the features, right? In terms of the offerings, I think immediately in terms of there is a very strong hyper customization, hyper personalization happening for the end user experience in terms of uh, suggesting the right policy for you. Probably if you have a motor, probably you should also system could suggest you the travel insurance and kind of a thing. If you're, I've recently talking to a startup and startup was talking about the moment they you switch on the roaming for your international travel, immediately there is a travel insurance being suggested, right? So uh, these are underlying customizations and integrations which are running, which make it very relevant for an end user to consume. So there is a very significant at an end user level. At a core system level, as I said, we have an agentic AI platform around the claims, around the policy, around the billing. So each organization can customize the agent and create the agents based on their comfort level or kind of this appetite that they have and automate a lot of tasks which are happening. So this frees up capacity, right? Frees up capacity and that capacity can be deployed on higher value tasks. So this is primarily what's happening at the insurance industry at this point of time. There is a very strong infusion of agentic AI, which most of the insurance companies are looking at.
You have previously described insurance as fundamentally a data problem, right? What does that really mean in practice? Is it legacy systems, regulations, fragmented workflows, all of it together?
Yeah, I think as I said, right, every large enterprise sits on a very heterogeneous set of systems and processes. And it's very, for an insurance industry, is extremely important that, because as I said, it's a data-rich industry, create intelligence out of the data that they have to footprint that they own, right? So that's where we come into the play. We have cloud data platform, which is also a kind of federated mesh architecture. So rather than pulling all the data into a common data store, we spread our wings and create intelligence at the data sources and push it back to a common platform. And that creates an intelligence for our insurers to do. Uh, the biggest problem that I see at this point of time, everyone is talking about AI, everyone is talking about different tools, but the AI will make sense only if you have the right context and the right data. The moment you have a fragmented data which is not very clean, it starts giving you insights which are not real. It's giving you insights which are very fragmented. So I think for any organization, it's extremely important that you leverage and clean your data footprint and make so that the system can make sense out of it, which is happening across the industry. I think
Is that the job of the insurer or guider?
it is something that it both sides, I would say. While our cloud data platform offers that common data visualization, data consumption option, but it's also a decision that insurers need to take. How do I need to establish a common data fabric across the system and build intelligence on top of it? So I think while we extend our platform, it's also a huge opportunity for the insurers to really look at how really they want to stick together multiple.
What's next for Guidewire?
Yeah, I think agentic AI is going to be very, very crucial. We also need to look at from a larger value chain. Again, the way we look at it with AI is that can we really reimagine some of the processes, right? We announced an intent in terms of rolling out a new process, X Center, which is a core application on underwriting. Underwriting is a huge opportunity that we see.
You are going to
Yeah, we are going to release an underwriting center which will fit across together with our other extenders, pricing center, policy center, and the new center. So this will be an actual extension which has a lot of AI capability. That's something that we are looking forward. Again, the way we see the entire spectrum is there is an opportunity for incremental innovation and disruptive innovation. So that both has to go hand in hand. While disruptive innovation is looking at reimagining the process itself, the incremental innovation would bring more features to the core and deliver more value from that perspective. Right? I think, yeah, that's something that we are looking at.
Last question, really, and I think this will be close to your heart. If somebody was starting their technology career today, what's the one thing you would obsess over learning?
the first principles of engineering stay the same, right? Get obsessed with a problem statement, not with a solution. I see technology as a solution, right? The moment you get obsessed with a problem statement, what happens is that you will constantly think, how do I make it better? How do I really look at from a different sense, right? I think that's very foundational for all of us. So tech will keep changing. Um, New things will come. You will have more learning. But what you really need to get obsessed is what are the problem statements out there? How do I really create an outcome or a solution for that, leveraging what's available at this point in time? That's a foundation. The second piece is um, we are going into a phase where learning is not an option. It's a constant learning, right? As you said, so every day you need to learn, and you also need to unlearn a lot of stuff that you have learned in the past, because the technology cycles are very, very short. Every week you will have the new update from a large language model. You will have new tools coming in. Things will become much more simpler. What will differentiate the newcomers to this industry would be their ability to define the problem and define the system is going to be very, very important, right? Because the pace at which systems and tools can develop code and deliver software is going to be very significantly faster, right? You will have overnight, you will have a 10,000 line code and you will have a tool which is created. But if you really look at, can I look at every line of code? Uh, Probably that will take a couple of weeks for me to really look at and understand it. But before giving a prompt or before you finalize what needs to be done, you need to have a very deep understanding in terms of what are you going to do and how are the systems going to interact together. I think that probably you can call it an abstract level of understanding, but that needs to be there, right? How individual systems are going to interact, how this is going to impact other features, other softwares. I think that level of understanding is extremely, extremely important. And that has to be a culture. I mean, going forward, I met a founder here. He was actually telling that in the last 6 months, he has created the software from scratch almost 11 times. Every other week, he will look at the software and say, oh, no, this is not good. Rather than fixing it, he said, let me do completely differently. And he starts doing. So we are going to phase where the whole software creation is going to be very fast. And at the same time, the people who are in the industry should have a very strong sense in terms of understanding how the individual components work and interact in the system. Right? That's going to be very, very, very important for us.
And that was a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech Titans. And thank you to everybody watching. Stay tuned for more conversations.